This is New People, a building with a clean, modern glassy look rather than the old-fashioned wooden look of the Japanese buildings around it. This recently made building is filled with many unique shops, including a small cafe in the main lobby that has lots of tea and wit. This is the Crown and Crumpet Tea Stop Cafe, an afternoon tea shop with delicious food and liberations that will transport you to a classic traditional tea salon in England without the stuffy Victorian ye olde tea shop feel. Its stylish and vibrant color makes the tea experience unique and fun for all ages. I had the pleasure of interviewing Amy Dean, one of the owners, about how this tea stop came to be.
So I was a creative services manager for Ralph Lauren in London, and my career moved from there to working in the film industry as a prop buyer and set dresser and a photo stylist, so all that creative stuff. And then I moved back to America, to San Francisco where I'm from, with my husband, and I continued doing my styling. But when I met my husband, we both had a mutual love for afternoon tea, or just tea in general, the history of tea, the ritual of it, all that's involved. In fact, our wedding was an afternoon tea party. Now, when you go to an antique shop, my husband's an antique dealer originally, so when you go to antique shops in the UK, they often have a little tea room attached if it's like an antique mall. So there's English people always have to stop and have their cup of tea. So when we moved here, we opened a little antique shop, and knowing that we wanted to one day have a cafe attached to the antique shop in some capacity. So that was our sort of plan. And then the market dropped for French antiques and English antiques. Everybody wants mid-century modern furniture. Boring. And we were like, and let's get out of this. Or let's open a bigger store with a little tea shop. Well, in San Francisco, the government makes it very difficult to have any kind of, they make it hard for you to have a small business in this city. It sucks. Too much trouble. Let's just do a tea shop, because people aren't buying antiques anymore. So that's what we did. We focused on that, and we decided that a lot of mom and pop tea rooms throughout America are just mom and pop little tea rooms. We knew that we wanted to brand the whole concept and grow it into more than one. So you gotta earn a living somehow, and just little neighborhood tea rooms, they struggle. So anyway, that it was our dream to have a tea shop and to do it properly and big, with a logo, with a byline, with but not making it like a Victoriana tea room, which is what a lot of tea rooms in the UK used to be like, but they're changing, and what they are particularly in America, because that only serves one kind of demographic, one or two different types of people, and we wanted to appeal to everybody because tea appeals to everyone. Well, I'm a great one for history, and the history of tea is tied in with so much. I read history at university in England, and so I've been obsessed with history since I was a little girl, and I've been obsessed with afternoon tea. My father worked for a British bank when I was a child, or all my life. So I of all my 5 brothers and sisters, was the one obsessed with English and history, the kings and queens, all that. So tea was part of that, and but the history of tea and how it got to England, and then how it was exclusive to the upper classes, to the aristocrats, because it was super expensive. It's an amazing history, the actual drink. And then in the 19th century, the Duchess of Bedford, the way they used to eat meals is interesting. Breakfast at one point, and then lunch, and then there's this big break without until dinner. And so the Duchess of Bedford, an aristocrat, got a little peckish between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, and asked her servants to bring her tea and cakes to her boudoir, so she could have something to eat when she took her corset off and could relax a bit. And then it was, she loved it, and then she started inviting some of her lady friends over, and it became fashionable and trendy. And then the hotels started to do that in London. There weren't tea shops, because women didn't go out. But women did not go out to restaurants unless they were women of ill repute until the turn of the century, really, after World War I in the UK. So, but tea rooms started opening, and it was safe for a woman to go to a tea room, or in a department store, they could go into a tea room without being shocking. But to have tea at home was part of the history. So I just love all that, and I just love that tea is so. There's so much about the growing of it, the making of it, the getting it from China or India to the UK, to anywhere, and the tasting, how they taste it. It's way more interesting than coffee. I love food, but afternoon tea it's the fact that there's a history, and there's a whole protocol with the kind of food you eat at afternoon tea. All started from the Duchess of Bedford, the little tea sandwiches, and then when it moved to hotels, and they had these incredible pastry chefs who could make everything. It was all delicate and small because it was mostly for women. So I just love that everything's petite. When I see people, when that 3-tier comes out to people's tables, it's so fun and so cute how excited everyone gets. The old ladies, the young, just people like, oh my God, because all your food groups are coming to you at one time, and it's all right there, and you don't have to wait. Like when you order at a restaurant, you're like, okay, starter, ate that, okay. If you're probably, can I eat the next course? Because I'm kind of full, but okay. Well, here it comes. You're like, okay, here we go. But you have to kind of wait. And sometimes when you're waiting, you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I can eat all that, or I'm starving, whatever. With afternoon tea, it all comes in one go. How exciting is that? Plus, it looks pretty. And you don't have to wait for somebody else to take it away. It's just it's a one-stop shop. So I think that's really fun, and I like that. But it's just the whole thing that I think people and myself are attracted to is the ritual of it. You start at the bottom, work your way to the top. There's a lot of work involved in it, but it's fun. It's, you use your fingers, to eat it, and it's kind of primitive that way. Some of our customers, clients, guests, whatever, they don't like using their fingers, so they use their knife and fork to eat their scone, and they stick the scone up there, and they eat it like a lollipop, because, culturally, it's impolite to use your fingers. So it just depends culturally who's eating, but it's funny. I'm like, you guys don't have to do that. You can just use your fingers. Oh, no. So, but it's interesting how every different culture loves tea, but how they eat it and stuff is interesting too.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed learning about afternoon tea and seeing it through Amy's eyes, and I hope that this video has made you want a cup of tea as well. Thank you for watching, and always remember, there is no trouble so great or so grave that cannot be much diminished by a nice cup of tea.